So here's what we're gonna do. He said he wanted a little bit taken off, kind of neaten up this. Trim will probably take about a ½ inch off the top, nothing crazy, just to make sure that everything is neat and sitting the way we want it to. Now he pushes his hair back, so I'm going to do diagonal partings in order to get that brushback look. It's gonna be super fly. I wanna make sure that my fingers are pressed tightly against his head as I make my cut, so that way the length is going to be even and controlled. So we made our first cut here. The next section gets directed to this one. The next section is going to get directed to the second section, and we'll go all the way down. But it's this area that I want to make sure has a nice bit of flow. How many sections did I do? 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th section. Now the goal is to try to do the same amount of sections on both sides. That's why you want to keep track of how many sections you do. We're over-directing this hair that's in the crown out this way so it maintains the weight in the crown and keeps it full. If I was to just start coming out like this, it would shorten the length in the crown area, and we want to keep that nice and full. So you look at that flow. See how that's laying back really nicely? Now I'm going to do my last parting. I believe this is either 6 or 7. See, I lost track. Make sure the hair is nice and saturated. You don't want to drown your client, but you also want to make sure that the hair is fully saturated so that you're cutting even lengths. If the hair, when the hair is wet, it stretches. So if you got some hair that's dry and some hair that's wet, when you pull the hair out from the head, you're going to get different lengths. So you want to make sure that it's all equally saturated. Saturated is just another term for wet. And you see all my sections are diagonal like this. If I was to do the reverse, if I was to cut instead of this way, if I was to cut this way, all the hair would flow forward. But since I'm cutting this way, all the hair is going to flow the direction that my fingers are pointing in. Now, I don't always do haircuts like this, but I think it is important to know because you may have somebody come into the barbershop one day and say that they don't want, a number 4 on the side or whatever. They want this flow that you're seeing right now, they want the hair to flow backwards. In order to do that, you're gonna have to use scissors. So it's very important to learn techniques like this because it'll set you apart from other barbers, one, but it'll also open up a new type of clientele for you as well. Now you can see right here, this is where his cowlick is. So we have to make sure that we over direct in order to keep the cowlick from sticking up, because if you cut that too short, it's gonna jump right up. Now, we have the top sectioned out, everything above the parietal ridge, we sectioned it out in like a sort of a horseshoe parting so that it all falls down, like the Kanye song, and we can do the sides. Now we're gonna blend the top into what we did on the side. So what I'm gonna do is comb all of this back and split it right down the middle, making sure to check for any cowlicks or anything like that, because if he's got a cowlick right here, I might not want to split it directly down the middle. I might want to split it right into the cowlick or section it off into the cowlick. So now what's cool about this is I do this in a lot of my videos. I like to section it down the middle and blend into the length that we just cut on the side. So everything that's hanging over is going to get cut. Look, you see that short hair right there and this long hair that's over top? Cut, boom. Now you want to make sure that as you move toward the front, you don't just come straight like this because you'll lose all this hair. It'll turn into a crop top. You want to make sure that you over direct downward to maintain this length that's in the front. See how we over direct downward and we keep all of this length? If I would have started cutting like this, he would have no hair in the front. And that would be an absolute tragedy. So we don't want to do that. And we'll comb it back just to see how everything's laying. It's flowing nicely with the hair that we already cut on the side. So now we're going to move on to the other side. But it's still a little bit of weight up here. You can see how long this hair is compared to like how long this hair is. So we know since we brought everything down and created graduation, we need to pull the hair up and layer it a little bit. Now there's several ways that you can do this. We first split everything down the middle and cut the sides, right? So really, if I was to pull all of this hair up, there would be a peak right here in the middle. Short hair right here, longer hair in the middle. So I could just come straight back and cut it all across. Or what I could do is make sure that the back is connected here and pull everything up toward the middle like this. Either way. So now we have the longest hair in the front and a little bit shorter toward the back. We didn't do too much of an exaggerated triangle shape. It doesn't really look like this. It's more kind of like almost like a crooked square. It's not totally square, but just a little bit longer in the front. That's gonna allow him to get that brush back action that he's looking for. If I was to cut this too short in the front, if I cut this here and had this real long, all this long hair in the back is gonna weigh the front down and he'll never be able to push it up and over and have it sit like that. He should be able to wear this hairstyle, push back like this with no product if he wants to, if we cut it correctly. If we didn't, he's gonna need a gallon of gel. I originally pulled the hair down. I split it down the middle and I pulled it down to match the length that we had on the side. That's creating graduation. Really what graduation is gonna do is just set the length for your haircut. But once you do that, it's still gonna be kind of bulky. So now you have to lift the hair up and layer it. Pulling it down is gonna create graduation. Lifting the hair up is going to layer the hair. And that's how you get texture and all that. You don't really need thinning shears or a whole lot of point cutting. Proper layering is gonna give you the texture that you need. And you see all the movement that he has in his hair? When I run my fingers through it, you can see how it breaks up real nicely. It has a lot of movement, a lot of texture already. Once I blow dry it, that's all gonna come out and be very visible. Now, since we started on the side here cutting, that's where we're gonna start our blow drying at. We started on this side, then we worked our way to this side, then we did the back, then we worked our way to the top. That is exactly how we're gonna blow dry, the same way we cut. A lot of people, when they have like a pushback style like this, they'll just start blow drying in the front. The problem is then this hair will be dry and it'll be sitting on top of this wet hair. You don't want that. You don't want to put dry hair on top of wet hair. And you see, it's almost like there's a string attached from my blow dryer to my brush. As one goes back, the other one goes back. That way this doesn't sit in the same spot and burn my client's head. If the back is looking a little too flat, if you can give it some volume right here. Because we retain that length as we were cutting, if I want to, I can lift the back and give it some volume. Now, because we went finger length in the nape area, I know for me, finger length is about a number 3. So this is a number 3. His occipital bone is like right here. So I'll come right off where the occipital bone is. If I do create a little bit of a shelf with the clipper, I'll just come back with scissor over comb and soften it up. But you see, now I have ample amount of space to do my fade. So we'll start with the blade closed. And then we'll open it up all the way. Got no guard on there, and we opened it all the way. Now we'll close it back up, knock out that bottom line, open to the next notch, go up a little more, open to notch 3, go up a little more, and then I'll open the clipper back all the way just because that's what we started this panel with, just to make sure everything is nice and smooth and is completely blended. You don't want to move on to the next panel until this panel is blended out. So this is our one guard all the way open. Now I made my panel, now I'll close it up and come right underneath where we were with the one guard open, just to lighten up the panel a little bit. Now, since we're working down, the next guard is gonna be my 16th, or my 0 guard, or my half guard, whatever you wanna call this guard. There's a lot of different names for it. But what you gotta remember is it's 1.5 millimeters. Now, I like to put the 16th either one notch open or halfway. Sometimes I'll close it up depending on the hair type, but I at least like to start with it one notch open or halfway. I rarely open it up, rarely if ever do I open the 16th guard all the way. So now my next guard is gonna be my number 2. Now we originally debulked with the number 3 all the way up here. So my 2 should blend right into that. I may have to open it a little bit, but it should blend right in. Especially if I'm not digging in with the teeth. If I'm floating off the head just like I did with the number 3, I should float right into that number 3. Boom. And now we can go right below that with our 1.5. And the same thing we did with our half guard where we had it halfway open. I got my, or one notch open, whatever. I got my 1.5 guard also either one notch or halfway open, depending on what's more comfortable for you. And then we will follow the same steps that we worked up with, we'll follow them back down. So here's the one open, one closed, and the system is gonna be the exact same, so I'm gonna speed through this part of the video. Yeah, 4-0. There's only one other 4-0 team, and that's San Fran, and they might mess around and lose to the Cowboys. Huh? South Jersey. I mean, there's times when like my wife will just take over the whole night. You know what I mean? Cool, I'll take it. But it ain't easy. I don't know. I didn't pay for the lollipops, so I don't know. I said I didn't pay for the lollipops, I don't know. No, I get Tony a pound. I don't know, bro. Oh my God. Oh my God. Nice and natural. We're not going to push it in too far. And now we will slowly work our way around the ear. We'll just try to create that curve. I'm keeping my finger here and I'm just using it as a pivot point to work my way around. Make sure you comb the hair down. If you have to, do it a couple extra times just to make sure that you got all the hair that wants to hang over the line. Boom. See, we got some extra. See. And again, I'm just going to work my way around the curve. Boom. Kind of lightly get the back right here where I may have created a shelf with that number 3. I just want to lightly clean that up. I'm not digging in. My shear is only touching the very edges, the very tips of the hair. I see that's laying down a lot nicer. Boom. Now I'll just take the shaver and clean up the stubble so it'll look a lot cleaner. Yeah, and we'll take it right up to the line. Boom. Take it right up to the line. And we'll do the same thing here on the sides. Now he has pretty light skin with pretty dark hair, so it is gonna be tough to kind of get that shadow effect out, but this is the closest that I can go without seeing the bone, so. Same thing on the other side. All right, what do you think? Look at the texture, look at the flow. The taper is clean, lined up nice. How's that look? Cool? Awesome.